Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Sandy, and we're two tenderfoot tourists. Welcome to episode 113. Don't be a terrible tourist.
Every day is a new day. Let's run.
Have you ever been on vacation and come across this person or a group of persons that was just cringeworthy?
Yeah, I have.
That kind of tourist that made you embarrassed for them. So you're embarrassed as a tourist to be associated with those tourists.
That's why on today's episode of Two Tenderfoot Tourists, we're going to be talking about people defacing or destroying property, trespassers, stealing, indecent exposure, drunk and disorderly, and disrespectful behavior in tourism.
And there's a lot of it out there. It's kind of disturbing, actually.
And it's kind of sad.
Well, let's just start things off. I have a quote for you, Steve.
Oh, really? What is it?
From good examples, we learn how to be. From bad examples, we learn how not to be. An observant and willing student can learn from any circumstance. Rochelle Goodrich.
Wow. That is a really good quote.
It is.
Especially considering the topic in which we're talking about on this
We've got
episode.
some terrible examples. Terrible examples.
Really bad. You guys, jaws will drop. If you haven't heard, I think you might have heard a couple of these.
Yeah,
perhaps.
a couple of these you might have heard of over the years. It's just really jaw-dropping and disturbing that people do some of the things they do. And I mean, and this is nothing. And we've heard lots of things. So
now where we got our information was on the internet, primarily from www.insider.com, worst tourist ever 2017.
Yeah, you don't have to go much further than that to get a lot of information. Of course, over the years we've heard a lot of things anyway about like going to World War II memorials or the 9/11 memorial and taking smiling and stupid looking selfies.
Very disrespectful.
Yeah, being disrespectful and stuff like that. We all know about that. And just the craziness that can ensue with the selfie craze. But this is very much more in depth.
Some of these just had my jaw hit the floor.
Yeah. So which one do you want to tackle first?
I say defacing or destroying property first.
This should be a no-brainer.
It should be.
It really should be. But I mean, if it's not yours, don't tear it up.
Well, I was going to say that would apply about anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, it should be logical, but it's not. People are just selfish and crazy.
Well, I think that some people, their heads aren't quite screwed on tight enough.
There's stuff that happens on accident and there's stuff that happens on purpose, but usually it comes down to not thinking before you act.
So what you're talking about is?
Well, one example, in October 2013, two Utah Boy Scout leaders thought let's try that again. In 2013, two Utah Boy Scout leaders thought that an old hoodoo presented an imminent danger for the kids they accompanied. Now, a hoodoo is some rocks that are stacked up. They look precarious, but they're like in a column. And they look like they could fall over easily.
You find a lot of those things in national monuments and stuff like that.
Well, that's the whole point. That is the focus of this park.
Uh-huh.
It's Goblin Valley State Park, and that is the focus of it. That is why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
People come there to see those things. They thought that the hoodoo was dangerous and might topple over and hurt someone.
Yeah, I actually remember this being
I do
on the
too,
news.
and I watched the video, and it seemed like they were just idiots.
Yeah.
They actually filmed themselves doing it, and they purposely pushed the thing over and broke it.
Yep.
And they suffered for it, guys.
Yeah. What ended up happening to those people?
They both got kicked out of the Boy Scouts. They were no longer allowed to associate with the Boy Scouts, and they had, I believe, a year's probation.
Wow.
So they got a record now. It's just
they got a rap sheet.
How dumb.
Yeah, I know.
They just wanted to. I'm sorry. I don't buy the protecting the boys thing.
I don't either.
You want to protect the boys? Tell them don't stand next to it.
Right.
They wanted to.
Right.
and they did what they wanted to.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on the news and going, just shaking my head, just like, what?
Yeah, it does. It makes you just drop your head.
It's like going to Yosemite and cutting down a tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. Or let's just go take a backhoe to the Grand Canyon.
There you go. Oh my goodness. I don't think it's big enough. I think I need to make it bigger.
Let's go dig in a different route for it, you know.
It's like, what are you thinking?
People are just crazy. So there's another example.
Oh, another one of defacing property or destroying property or...
Yep. Remember you told me about this one.
Yeah, Illinois. So yeah, apparently this couple decided they were going to go to this state park called Starved Rock. And this sandstone cliff that they were at, they carved their initials into this ancient rock that supposedly is a Native American sacred ground.
Yeah.
And and they not only did that, I think they even posted it on their social media, didn't they?
That is what most of these have in common, is that these people actually filmed themselves doing these things. Or at least took photos and posted on social media. Mork's over here rubbing on the, what do you call this thing again?
Pop filter.
Yes. And he's got his head all in my cord.
Tell everybody what happened to him last night, the poor traumatized cat.
Okay, my cat has issues anyway. We think he has a little brain damage, and we laugh, but it's really sad and funny at the same time. When he was little, he collided when playing with a teenage boy. He collided with his shin, and he's not really been quite the same. He's been a coward ever since.
Yeah.
And he's like huge. He's like a 10 or 11
when he
pound
was
cat.
real little, he was so much fun because he'd chase you.
Yeah, he chased us like he was a dog.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun.
He played with our son, who was a teenager also, and never a problem. Well, after colliding with this kid, he became a coward. Well, he's really afraid of plastic bags.
Loud noises.
Movement.
Breathing.
Anything not normal. Well,
and normal.
Last night, we were asleep. We came out this morning, and stuff on our kitchen table was strewn everywhere, and we finally found him, and he had a plastic bag around his back hips, and he couldn't get it off.
Poor
and
guy.
He was like traumatized. He was screaming and
Meowing,
screaming and
meowing,
screaming and
meowing.
screaming. We finally got it off of him, and he was still screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. So we picked him up and held him and petted him and tried to comfort him, and he was still doing it. I think he has PTSD.
I think he does too. Oh my goodness. I can hear him purring.
Okay.
Put the microphone down to there a little closer.
He's just, I'm holding his rear end.
Oh,
so
are
he
you?
doesn't
Oh, okay.
fall.
Never mind then.
He's just a mess. So he's needy right now.
Yeah. Poor guy. I felt so bad for him. He had a traumatic night.
He did. And nobody was there to rescue him till morning. There's no telling how long he had that around his waist. And he's so afraid of plastic bags. I'm sure it was very traumatic.
Gosh.
He will not be any less afraid of plastic bags.
Oh my goodness. It went to a new level, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Okay, so continuing with the podcast. Sorry, everyone. Just wanted to share a little intimate detail about our cat losing its mind.
Yes. So we talked about the defacing of the rocks at Starved Rock State Park in Illinois.
Yeah, and you know what? Another issue that is seen quite often is the problem with trespassing.
Yeah, that's actually pretty common, I think. People, and you think of trespassing as climbing over a fence, but it's not always that. It's even just stepping off of trails.
Oh, remember that one we did last year about the guy that went and took his pictures with the gorillas?
Oh,
the
with the grizzlies catching salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he selfied himself. What a moron.
Yep, he climbed over a fence that was clearly marked saying, "Do not go beyond this grizzly feeding ground."
Long story short, we're trying to save your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was on, he
Yeah.
actually got caught, I believe, because there was cameras set up.
And people are watching the camera.
Wildlife cams that were live so that they could watch them.
Yep.
And they caught him, saw him on there, and he got busted.
Oh, what an idiot. He could have been killed.
Yes, he could have.
It was a shock, a miracle that he wasn't. But, okay, so you said 2 men. No, you didn't say. You
No,
hadn't
2
said
men
that.
are in were in hot water for getting too close to the hot water at the Old Faithful Geyser in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. they had been arrested for thermal trespassing. That is
Which-
what it was called. I'm still confused about that. And
Well,
it
you
all
said-
has to do with the fact that it's to deal with the hot springs.
The thermal springs that
Yep.
they have up there.
Yep.
But it's like when you said they got trespassing for they got fined for thermal trespassing, and I
Yes.
was going like, what is that?
Well, evidently, the signs are up the way they are, and they've got, I know he's so loud.
You could hear them.
The platform that they've got for you to walk on is there for a reason. It's because first you could get burnt.
Yes.
But also
it's
because
dangerous.
of the fact that they have, areas that are brittle and that you could fall through and fall down in there.
Yeah, it's not
I
pretty.
mean, come on, people. Do you want to live or do you want to die? A horrible, horrible death. I mean, anyway.
You know what? I hate to say this because I love my cell phone, but I would say it's the introduction of the readily easy photo taking that is capable on your phone.
That has caused a lot of
that is-
stupidity.
yeah, because I've watched news articles about someone who has an Instagram page and they fell off the side of a cliff while they're trying to take a selfie or
yes.
doing a photo
I've
shoot.
heard about multiple cases of that type of thing happening. I think in passing, one of the things we came across was the lady who was trying to take a selfie and backed into pictures hanging on expensive
yeah,
art
Salvador
hanging-
Dali
yeah,
was one of the artists
and knocked
that-
down a whole
yeah.
wall exhibit
Yeah,
by backing into it accidentally while taking a selfie. Come on, people.
that is crazy.
And, some of these cases, they end up paying thousands of dollars.
Right. But trespassing is a clear problem with some tourists. There was some trespassing that was done in Hawaii that people almost got drowned.
Mm-hmm.
Almost were drowned because they were told that they don't have access to this beach in Hawaii.
Right.
And the waves swelled up, grabbed a hold of them, threw them out into the ocean. And if it wasn't for the fact, and it was really uncanny that the Coast Guard was nearby at that time. So
Right.
it was trespassing for tourists, I think, is probably bar none one of the biggest things that take people's lives.
It
if you
really is.
think.
And, you and I have talked about this a little bit before in some other areas too. One of them was when we were talking about places that were used for filming movies and stuff, that you don't go walking up to somebody's house just because something was filmed there.
Yeah.
You respect their property, you respect their privacy. If
Right.
you want to check with them and see if it's okay for you to look around,
That's different.
totally different. But you don't just go in somebody's yard and start taking pictures.
Right. You wouldn't want someone doing that to you.
Right. I mean, we were creepy enough standing out at the street in Colorado in front of my mom's old house.
Well, at least your mom walked up and
Well, we stood out at the street,
no,
but
he
until
pulled
the
in.
man came home, and
That's right.
then she walked up and told him who she
Yeah,
was and
just to
why
let him-
she was there.
all right.
And I mean, we were respectful of their privacy and their property. And he was great. He let her do all the posing she wanted.
I swear she had a great view from that house.
Oh,
see the
my
mountains
goodness,
from that.
I know.
Oh, so
To be a kid back then,
No joke.
without all the extra buildings, would
she
have been
said
an
that there
incredible
was
sight.
there was no houses there, and you used to climb up on the side of the mountain and watch the wild horses go
Yeah,
running
and
all
watch
over
the
the
wild
place.
Mustangs.
Yeah,
and see them corral them
that
up
is
on top.
awesome.
I'm just picturing this all in my head. I
Yeah.
see John Wayne and the Cowboys.
That's it.
All right, moving right along. What's our next part?
Stealing.
Stealing is huge.
It is.
Some of the national parks, you aren't even allowed to pick up a pine cone.
That's true.
And if you do, you're stealing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know it seems petty and small, but you know what, guys? Leave it there so somebody else can see it.
Well, I was going to, the thing is these are the rules that they have applied. It's not killing you. It's not harming anyone. If anything, it's preserving something. And that was
Right.
the whole intent behind it. And with this particular incident that we're going to talk about I think is like, wow, this is bad.
And I think it would fall into the disrespect part too.
I would agree. I was going to say, I guess it's fair to say that a lot of these topics can actually bleed over into others a little.
And
so.
they probably all fall under disrespectful behavior for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. But this one's just really rough. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. Basically, an American tourist that was visiting Auschwitz, the death camp in Poland, decided that he was going to steal a piece of the historical track.
Right.
Yeah.
It was Sorry.
Well, this is one of the this Auschwitz is one of the most well-known death camps in World War II. Allegedly, attempting to steal this piece of metal train track leading into the camp, where many of like 1.1 million people died here at this, and some were like coming in on the train tracks.
Well, they expect most of them were transported in on those tracks.
Exactly. And so he decided he was going to steal a piece of it, but he was caught, and he ended up getting how many years?
10 years in prison.
My goodness.
It's crazy. Okay, everybody's favorite, Indecent Exposure.
Okay, so it was really difficult to find one to bring to the podcast.
You mean just one, right?
Yeah.
Because
well, no, not just one, but ones that are like, okay, that's very offensive.
Right. Well, and I mean, of course, indecent exposure in a way is in the mind of the beholder.
That can be true, yeah.
You weren't a real big fan of the lady in the thong on the beach that time. That was kind of uncomfortable for you.
That was awkward.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about nudity.
I was like, ma'am, I think you're missing some of your swimsuit. It's got to be around here somewhere for you.
We're moving on, Steve. But what we're talking about is nudity. We're getting straight to some of the things people do. I'm sorry, I just get totally blown away.
Okay, so whenever we were talking about how some people like get themselves hurt because they're posting pictures on Instagram and stuff like that. Well, this is kind of in that same camp, except the fact that no one really got hurt except like maybe stunted visually.
I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
There are some things that you can't unsee. These
people do things for Instagram that go out and beyond what is actually these guys who had this Instagram called, can I say what the Instagram page was called? Traveling Butts. It's no longer up.
Right. It was removed.
It was removed, yeah. And they decided to go to the temples there in Bangkok and shoot nude photos.
Right. At historic temples.
Yeah.
They were from the United States. I just want to point out that a lot of these people are not. So it's not just us that just dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
But they were from the United States. They were arrested in Thailand after taking nude photos at the Wat Arun Temple in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
if we're pronouncing that right.
Yeah, probably not.
We're
we don't
probably banned
ever.
from the country now because we didn't pronounce it right.
But they evidently traveled around the world posting nude photos at all these different historic places.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's not up anymore. It was deleted from Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. I don't understand that personally.
They ended up, detained, fined for public indecency, and blacklisted from returning to the country.
Right. Don't get
It's
it.
just stupid. But there's people also that go skinny dipping in famous rivers and lakes and creeks and streams and fountains.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories about the fountains.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see that.
Sorry. I hate to disappoint you, but...
And you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
So... And if you put it on social media, it makes you kind of dumb.
I can almost bet you some of those people who did dimping? Well, I can really hear more just like...
It's going to be on there, isn't it?
It is. Anyway, so I bet a better part of those are drunk and disorderly.
I think you're probably correct. So we'll just go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
What do we find with drunken and disorderly? So we all can learn from this.
Yeah.
What not to do.
I'm telling you.
Learn from bad behavior.
An American tourist was reportedly hospitalized after falling from a statue in Italy during a night out drinking with friends. He evidently climbed up on top of this horse statue at like 1 a.m. And falls off of the thing trying to take a selfie. What did we just say? And he ended up undergoing brain surgery.
Oh, he almost died.
Yeah, for life-threatening injuries.
Yeah.
I don't know if he made it. The article did not say, but What?
You know what that kind of reminds me of whenever we had Jason in the studio and we were talking about, I can't remember which one it was. It was either one of those theme parks that he likes to go
was
to,
it
either Cedar Point or Kings Island, one of the two, and they have a miniaturized version of Eiffel Tower there. And the kid got drunk and he went and drunkenly trying to impress the girls and his buddies down there. Anyway, climbed the tower and he ended up losing his grip and he fell down and became decapitated, and then his ghost haunts the...
I remember
that now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do now.
This kid, if he died, he'd be haunting this stupid statue for all eternity.
You're so weird.
It's gonna happen.
Okay.
Might as well face it.
You and Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness.
Okay, but you know what? That kind of drunken and disorderly, you don't have to be drunk in order to be
Disorderly.
Disorderly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, loud, obnoxious behavior.
Disrespectful behavior.
Basically just being inconsiderate to people around you. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had hotels we've been at where the pounding on the other side or the music on the other side was ridiculous, or the kids were ridiculous, and that's disorderly. You know, of course, public stuff is what's really rough.
Right. Well, I think we saved the best for last.
The best for last.
Exactly.
Or the worst for last.
Or the worst for
I think
last.
it's the worst. This is the ultimate in disrespectful behavior.
I'm gonna read it just like what it is right here, because frankly I can't remember everything.
And everything needs to be said about this group.
This is an article from the link that I'm going to leave in the description, which I already forgot where it was from. Okay, from Insider.com. Okay, and it says, a family traveling around New Zealand had its visas revoked after wreaking havoc throughout the country, including threatening tourists, stealing, and ruining a motel room. A British family of 12 has been terrorizing the people of New Zealand for a month as they travel through the country. For starters, two children from their family were caught on camera stealing Christmas trees while shopping at a convenience store. The family also allegedly refused to pay for meals at several restaurants, claiming that there were bugs in their food and drinks. And the behavior is said to have continued into the motel, as staff accused the family of throwing cigarette butts, beer cans, and even spaghetti on the floor. Staffers said that the room smelled like kids' poo and took hours to clean. It doesn't end there, though. At the beach, the family is accused of littering, throwing beer, baby wipes, and chips on the beach. We saw photos of that. That was crazy.
It was pigsty.
I think it was cleaner at Woodstock after that was over compared to what they'd done. Where was I? When a local confronted the family, they allegedly threatened violence. And after another unruly incident at the Burger King, the New Zealand government revoked their family's visa, forcing all 12 of them to leave the country within 28 days.
I think they gave them too long.
I think so too.
I think they should have be out by the end of the week.
I can't do this. You're going to have to leave.
We actually watched a little video clip, and you couldn't really tell much what was going on, but there was just a little guy on there. I wouldn't have guessed more than 5 or 6 years old. I could be underestimating his age. He may have been 6 or 7, but he was just mouthing off to the person, telling her off big time.
Oh yeah.
The lady that was filming, and it's like, wow, he's a little monster.
Oh my goodness. I was just like jaw dropping. Whoa.
I just know I don't ever want to be the people that when I leave, they say, man, I hope they never come back. They were awful.
Well, you know what? I mean, if the government's going to kick this family out, it's like you're making our country worse.
Were they American?
They're British.
I'm just really glad they're not American.
I apologize for my wife's recent statement, England.
All I'm saying is we tend to be called rude a lot.
I was going to say, we are accused of being very, very rude.
I wasn't glad it was the British. I was glad it wasn't an American.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone else but an American, it would have been fine.
Thank you. It wasn't us this time.
Because we have a tendency to be a little boisterous.
We're in the spotlight.
Is that a word?
Boisterous.
Boisterous. That's the word. But, yeah, you know what? That right there, I think was the best to say. I mean, what was that quote I was going to use? So a quote for you to remember: if you can't be a good example, you'll just have to be a horrible warning.
And I think that family is a horrible warning.
I think so too. A lot of these people that we discussed in are like horrible warnings.
I start saying, I keep coming back to the guy that fell off the statue. That's a horrible warning. I mean, even if his surgery went well, he may never be the same again. So, yes, don't be a horrible warning.
Don't be a horrible warning, please. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Okay, so where else were we going to go with this? I think that was about it, wasn't it?
That was all.
That was it, right? Okay.
Honestly, I think that was a really interesting episode. I think that we could have talked about so many more incidents in great depth. But it's just a matter of be considerate when you're out there and think about what you would want to deal with in your own hometown. And I think that'll help a lot.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, have some pride and represent your country in a it's like in a way that is behavior becoming.
Excuse me.
What?
I have to say something.
What's that?
When we said represent, it made me think of something very special and near and dear to my heart.
What was that?
Go Chiefs!
Go Chiefs! Okay.
Super Bowl bound, baby!
We're from Missouri.
I love the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs have not been...
Steve's a turd.
The Super Bowl, they have not been to the Super Bowl in 50 years.
In 50 years.
1970.
Yep.
They haven't won the Super Bowl in 51 years. So this is an amazing day if you're a football fan.
I have been a Chiefs fan for
in
life.
Missouri.
Right?
Yes.
Chiefs fan for life. And he has mocked me.
Okay, so in my defense... No, my defense is that I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? When I actually start seeing a team actually do what a team is supposed to do and actually play and not choke at the last minute.
I think it was his man version of crying about it.
Oh my gosh, they broke my heart one too many times. I'm done with you.
But that's not a real fan.
No, you're right.
Real fans,
you're right.
They're with him through it all. And by golly, my mom has been with them through it all, and so is Charlie. And
they frustrated the ever-living snot out of me.
I'm so excited. And I don't think Travis Kelce could have been any more excited.
You know, I remember I was talking this morning. I can actually pinpoint the time that I just that's it. I'm disenfranchised with the whole thing.
I know. It was with Gannon.
Yep, and
we
Elvis
loved
Gerbach.
Gannon. We wanted to keep Gannon. And that all didn't work out, and it was really frustrating. I know if Gannon would have stayed in for the playoffs, we would have had it. And
I know this is going to be like some sort of taboo for people who are listening that are Kansas City Chiefs fan, but when Gannon went to Oakland, I was going like, I might start cheering for Oakland.
Not me. Raider hater for life, baby.
I was just like, I like Gannon now.
I still want to have a shirt like Charlie used to have, the Raider hater shirt.
Oh, the Raider hater shirt.
Had a lot of little skinny bitty Raiders crammed into the ground and the big old chief running across the field, stepping on their heads.
Yes.
And it said Raider haters.
Yeah.
I love that shirt so much.
I think you hit the nail on it. I'm really not I enjoy the sport of football. I can actually sit down with any football game and actually really enjoy it. I do have... I was very hopeful the Chiefs will pull it through this season.
You do have a preference. You do like the Chiefs.
I do like the team.
But you're
Chiefs.
not diehard.
I'm not diehard, no. But I was excited to see them win.
I know, right?
I'm so excited to see them in the Super Bowl. Man, am I excited.
We have finally... Okay, we will not be going to... this is not a Super Bowl party. We'll be going to a Super Bowl party.
You bet your sweet Bippy. But, okay, so I think we can probably wrap this up.
Yeah, I think you can easily just say thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to another wonderful, beautiful, fantastic, superb, fantastic. That's my echo. What do you
Overkill.
think? Okay.
Episode 113. Don't be a terrible tourist.
That means you. Two Tenderfoot Tourist is a family-friendly podcast. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spotify, just to name a few.
To get in touch with us and chat about this podcast or even your travel experiences, simply email us at tenderfoottourist@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to check out our website at twotenderfoottourist.com. That's TWO tenderfoottourist.com.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Sandy.
Until next time.
Stay tender.